All right, I'm gonna get right to the point. I've had sciatic for 2 years, MRIs, CAT scans. I've had about 50 chiropractor's appointments. I've done bone therapy. I've done massage therapy. I've done acupuncture. Um, Short story is my L5S1 was out of the disc was bulging. I did inversion tables. A lot of stretching, but nothing ever changed. And you know, people said that I should do surgery, that I'm a candidate for surgery, and I didn't want to do surgery. I because a lot of when you read about it, a lot of people that have surgery end up having problems, or they still have pain, and or they have to get another surgery, and once you have surgery, it's you know there's no going back from that. So if you need it, you need it. But so the one thing that worked best for me, well, there's one thing I thought that worked best for me was decompression therapy, which I did about 25 sessions of decompression therapy, not traction, decompression. Basically, a machine where they strap the lower part of your waist and they put usually braces under your arms and they stretch your spine to get that fluid in that disc to want to go back. That did help, but I ended up still coming back to the same issue. Um, and you know, there's only one person that in 2 years of having problems and getting adjustments actually helped me. And he says, come over to my house and let me look at you, and you'll be surprised on what it is. And at this time, I'm at the hospital. I'm in so much pain, and this is like 2 years in, so I've already spent thousands of dollars. Um, so, at this point, I'm almost thinking about surgery. Maybe I should, because I'm just miserable. Every aspect of my life is just totally changed. Um, a lot of depression, my relationships, everything. Um, my pain dominated everything. It sucks. So if you're dealing with those things, I know. And there's a lot of people that say they want to help, and some people are sincere, and some people are sincerely trying to rob you. So, anyways, I found this guy. He's teaches at a university. He's been studying bones and the nervous system for like 20 years, and he tells me, come over to my house, and I'll be able to tell you right away what it is. So I kind of, at this point, I'm kind of like, I don't know, I don't know how to feel about doing this again and starting over. So what, I have nothing to lose. I'm gonna check this guy out. So um, I show up at his house, and he says, go ahead and lay down on my table. And I lay down, and literally, he looks at me, has never seen any MRIs, X-rays, never even really talked about too much to this guy except that I have sciatic and my back, hurts, and my lower back, and a lot of pain, and nerves, whatever. So within the first minute or two, he feels me, and he said, I already know what your problem is. And I think, I'm going to hear what I've always heard, something about my hips or whatever. And he said, both your femurs are out. And I never heard that before. Nobody ever said that. They looked at my x-rays, MRIs, my CAT scan. Nobody ever said anything about my femurs out. And he said, yeah, every time you go and they adjust your hips and they adjust your back and your neck and all this stuff, well, mainly they adjust your hips, he said, if they don't adjust your femur, it's basically, since your femurs are out, it's going to reposition and tweak your hips again. And that makes sense, because that's why I was always still in pain. I'm always still dealing with it. So if you're dealing with what I'm dealing with and you haven't found results, ask somebody about your femurs, to check your femurs. So short story is he told me the way I was going. I'm 35 right now. He said if I would have kept going, I would have needed to replace both my hips, um, and I would have had bad scoliosis. So right there, he had started working on my scoliosis. Um, Started basically just did waist down for the first session. So he put my femur, my leg a certain way, and he started shoving it back in. And it's a certain angle he does, because he said he's opened up bodies and looked at the angles, the way the bones go in. So he started shoving my femurs back in, and surprisingly, I felt the next day I felt like a car just plowed me. It was rough, but um, a couple days later, I went back and he worked on my upper part. He straightened out my spine from some of my scoliosis. This guy is moving bones. I had a vertebrae out of my neck, and he doesn't just crack your neck. He'll just push that single one back. He's a doctor, but he's very anti, big adjustments, unnecessary adjustments. He's very detailed. Best person I ever found. It took me 2 years. So short story is, he in 3 sessions, he said, I don't need to see you anymore. You're done. And, it's been about 4 months since he's did the work with my femurs, and gave me some pointers about some other ways and other things. And he told me that I need to swim every single day, if I want to rehabilitate faster, which I was, but I kind of cut back a little bit, and, I need to get back. But, it's amazing because he wasn't like the normal chiropractor, in the sense, or these people that have these businesses where they, they want you to sign a contract for 26 sessions, at this price, to fix you, or they, adjust you enough for you to come back. He fixed me when I said, hey, should I come back? A normal person would have said yes in a couple days. He said, no, I don't need to see you anymore. So he said, just keep doing your exercises and strengthen your core, and, eat good and get off the chemical drugs. So that was my guy's advice, and that's my experience. And guess what? I don't need surgery. I had a pretty bad bulging disc, but, don't always do the easiest thing, because the easiest thing could have the biggest consequences. So, one, get an MRI. I did all of this without insurance. I just did cash for everything because I didn't have insurance. I didn't have a choice. MRI I got for $450 cash from some place that's all they do is MRIs. Chiropractic, I just, I went to the best people I could find. But the best person ended up being the last person, which I said patiently. I waited 2 years of extreme pain. And even though it's been about 5 months, I still get a little bit of agitation if I sit too long. I just need to, but other than that, I feel amazing. I feel like I'm not thankful enough that I just happened to get this guy's number from a friend of a friend. And, my friend hasn't even been to him, and he had his number. So keep looking, get your femurs checked if you're dealing with sciatic. Once again, don't do surgery unless you have to. That's like a last result, or resort. Anyways, I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, I'm from Sacramento, California. If you have any questions about anything, any stretches, there's a lot of stretches I did when I had sciatic. There's a lot of stretches I didn't do. Some stretches will agitate the situation. If you have questions about decompression, what side my leg was on, did it get worse, what prescriptions I was taking, leave me a comment, whatever. And either way, I wish the best for you, and keep your head up. I know it's challenging, and so one day at a time. All right, guys.